Yakuza Like a Dragon sort of feels like a soft reboot of the franchise, with it having a fresh new protagonist taking the helm. While it's hard to fill the boots of a character like Kazuma Kiryu, the team actually really knocked it out of the park with Ichiban Kasuga. While the game does have extended cutscenes that feel a little bit longer than past games, it also has a lot more to set up, including Ichiban's backstory, including the Arakawa Tojo clan, setting up a three-way war in Yokohama, and even fleshing out characters that end up joining Ichiban's party. The story might have a lot of characters and plot lines, but the team does a great job of tying it all in together, along with some twists along the way. I do think some of the twists used in these games, especially towards the end, were a bit far-fetched, but RGG storytelling has come a long way from past games, and it's really showcasing in this game. Unlike Kazuma Kiryu, Ichiban's character actually relies on his party members, not just for combat but to drive the story forward. One thing I really appreciate about the Yakuza series was that it wasn't your typical Japanese game setting or characters. Yakuza Like a Dragon carries over that tradition by having a large cast of mostly middle-aged men, along with the game's real-world setting. Your early team in the game is made up of Ichiban, a failed ex-Yakuza, the grumpy homeless man Yu Nanba, Koichi Adachi, a retired ex-detective, and Saiko Makoda, a bartender from a hostess club. You also unlock 3 more playable characters throughout your journey, but I'll leave these characters as surprises for you guys as you guys play. Well, the Yakuza series hasn't been shy in the past when it comes to covering aspects of Japan that mainstream media sorta glosses over. It's nice to see the series continue this tradition as it dives deeper into issues facing Japanese cities. It even has a storyline revolving around sex workers, homelessness, and even mistreatment of foreigners in Japan. It's the little things like this that make the Yakuza series so refreshing. For Kazuma Kiryu, the made-up red light district known as Kamurocho has always been the home for his games, and the city grew and changed along with each release. Since Yakuza Like a Dragon has a brand new protagonist, it also takes the story away from Kamurocho and into Injincho in Yokohama. Injincho is a large, diverse red district and has a lot of neat scenery and cultural landscapes to explore. You have places like the homeless encampment block where our hero starts his journey, a brothel district, and even the large Hamakita Park. Since the city of Injincho has a 3-way turf war between the Chinese Liuman, the Korean Gomijul, and the Japanese Seiryu clan. The city really does a good job of seeming divided by having large portions of the city dedicated to a Koreatown and even having a Chinese-themed restaurant row. You can tell that RGG Studio took a long time crafting the new city, and that it wouldn't just be used for a one-off game, but have the ability to change as the series moves forward. And I can't wait to see it in the future games. Sega has also been investing a lot more into localization, which has resulted in games like Judgment and Fist of the North Star getting full English dubs. Yakuza Like a Dragon will be the first main series Yakuza game to get a full dub since the debut of the first game on the PlayStation 2, which was ridiculed by fans for being subpar. I can now safely say that the dub for Yakuza Like a Dragon is damn near perfect, with every actor doing an incredible job slipping into their roles.
Yeah.
Let's do this together. That work for you? From here on out, you don't have to feel alone anymore. Welcome to the party.
I can't complain about some of the minor characters, but I feel like they were purposely hamming up their dialogue to fit the Japanese actor's tone. Just like Judgment, Sega took extra time to animate the mouth movements with the English voiceover, and it does a lot to immerse you into the game. I used to be in the group of Yakuza fans that thought that the franchise didn't need an English dub, but Sega's localization team has proved me wrong. I also think it's the perfect timing to introduce an English dub, since most of the main characters from this game are all new, thus we don't have a Japanese voice attached to them. The localization team even went into the game and had English voice actors go through some of the karaoke songs, and it's pretty awesome. I suggest everyone giving the English dub a spin. There was a lot of love and effort put into it, and it definitely shows. The protagonist and setting isn't the only thing the studio went back to change. Yakuza Like a Dragon also drops the real-time combat that has made the franchise popular throughout the years, and now features a brand new turn-based combat. This had fans divided before the release, and I have to say that the team did a really good job making the combat engaging and fun. It seems that the team really dove into popular Japanese turn-based RPGs and figured out what made combat actually fun to play. Yakuza Like a Dragon is a pretty simple to pick up and play, with attacks, skills, evasion, and blocking. The game does add button prompts when doing bigger skill attacks, sort of how Paper Mario handled it. If you press a button, smashing square or timing the triangle button for example, you get a slight boost in damage. The game also allows you to time a block button as the character is about to hit you, which will not only reduce the damage taken, but also protect your character against status effects from the enemy's attacks. If you don't like the idea of always pressing buttons during a battle, especially when you're grinding, you could always turn it off in the main menu. Shoot, you could even make the game play itself by holding down L2. Personally, to me, I actually like the battle system. I played it a lot, and I love playing random battles and just trying to figure out how to combo these characters and try to beat them as fast as possible. One of the reasons the combat is so engaging in Yakuza Like a Dragon is because of its great job system, where you can change the gameplay style of your character whenever you want. The base game comes with 20 different jobs, each basically using its own weapon and having a slew of unique animations and a ton of skills. Sadly, I didn't have time to try each one for this review, but I did use 2 or 3 jobs per character and it was a blast. The job system has its own levels, apart from the character's levels, so if you switch to a new job, you will have to start leveling from scratch to open up new moves. This is definitely a bad thing for users who dislike grinding. I wish that RGG Studios would have allowed you to transfer XP from job to job, to allow players to experiment with different jobs. I guess there's always the sequel for them to do something like this. I also like that the game's job system was centered around jobs already introduced in past Yakuza titles like Foreman, Idol, Hostess, and so on. I also appreciate how giving Yakuza Like a Dragon is when it comes to handing out XP, since the game only allows you to have an active party of 4. That means some characters have to sit out. Thankfully, those sitting out also get XP from battles. The game also features a slick tag-out system that lets you switch an active party member for one sitting out during battle. It even lets you tag out a party member with no HP. Very important and can save your ass during those intense battles. Like most JRPGs out there, Yakuza Like a Dragon can feel a bit grindy at points, and quite frankly, it also has some difficulty spikes. There are especially glaring points in the game where you are forced to allocate a certain amount of money to continue the story. Moments like this can be a bit frustrating, and I think it's bad game design, but I guess it's all a matter of opinion. There is an arena you can unlock later in the game that lets you level up quite easily. It's just too bad it wasn't added sooner in the game. It would have made some of these grinding points a lot more simple. While most of the game's systems are actually really streamlined, it's perplexing that the Yakuza Like a Dragon made accessing your cell phone a bigger hassle. In the past titles, the phone was more streamlined with a button press, but now you have to go into your start menu and then to your smartphone, and then you can access some of the apps like calling a taxi from anywhere and checking out a list of bad guys you face. My issue is that these features could have just been added to the main start menu, instead of going through the start menu and then going through another menu to get another app. The game also doesn't do a good job of letting you know how powerful some of the enemies on the street are. It has a meter on top of the map that tells you how dangerous an area is, but it's hard to know early on what it even means. It would have been easier to show the enemies level over them, or maybe some sort of color coded, like putting them bright red if they're too dangerous. I made a list of little aspects in the game that you might want to know before going in. For example, like losing a battle loses half your catch, thus making depositing money in stores much more important. Taxis aren't marked on your map until you actually find them and get in. When you're looking for jobs to switch to, you can actually look at the moves you'll unlock before you actually pick them by pressing triangle on the PlayStation controller. For some reason, I've seen people online complain about this and they didn't figure it out, and I didn't either until the other day, so... There are barricades in the city that you can only break if you unlock a skill, and the only way to unlock this skill is to switch Ichiban's job to Foreman. This will unlock it right away. You don't even have to play as Foreman, you just have to equip the job skill and then unlock this move, and then you can switch back to anything you want. This really helps you before you get into the underground dungeons, so I very much suggest it. Yakuza Like a Dragon is jam-packed with minigames, which isn't surprising to fans of the series, but I was kind of shocked at how many new minigames were featured in this game. The first one that we are introduced to is Survival Cans Collection, where you collect cans while riding a bike through a course that kind of reminds me of Pac-Man. This minigame also features enemies that can take cans from the map, and could even run into you and take cans from your cart, which requires you to gain boost to run into them. The minigame also plays with a time clock, as you have to keep track of the time because you have to get back to the marker with the cans you collected before the clock reaches 0. Kind of how Knights handled it. We also have a movie theater minigame where our main character watches a film and must stay awake. The only way to do this is to hit the button prompts as the film plays. Since our hero is poorly educated, vocational school is now a minigame where you take quizzes which will boost Ichiban's stats. Remember the property management game in Yakuza 0? A new version makes its debut in Yakuza Like a Dragon, and it's actually really fun, time consuming, and highly suggested you play at least to the first goal of getting to the top 100, as you will unlock a very useful feature. I think outside of all the minigames, my favorite was Dragon Kart. The studio took the idea of the popular pocket racing minigame from Yakuza 0 and literally made a sort of stiff Yakuza kart racing game with its own story and villains. It's actually full of surprises and super silly. There are also a lot of cool cameos and callback from past Yakuza titles. The game also has some of my favorite minigames from past titles, including darts, poker, batting practice, golf, and a lot more. Well, a lot of these new side games are awesome. One of the things that disappointed me was the lack of new Sega arcade titles in this game. Sure, not everyone's playing Yakuza Like a Dragon for old emulated games, but I expected to have at least one new title included here. Judgment had 2 exclusive Sega arcade games, Motor Raid and Kamoru of the Dead, which was obviously created from the ground up specifically for Judgment. This obviously doesn't ruin the game, as the selection of games included here are great and include both Virtua Fighter 2 and 5, plus older classics like Fantasy Zone, Outrun, Super Hang-On, and even Space Harrier. But it would have been awesome to have at least one new arcade title, especially considering this is a main Yakuza game. Another huge pastime in Yakuza games is the sub-stories, and Yakuza Like a Dragon has a wide cast of characters you meet throughout your adventure. Yakuza Like a Dragon features over 50 of these sub-stories that range from tragic to over-the-top to some wacky that make you question what you just played. These are all normal feelings and means that the studio hit all the right notes that fans come to expect from their games. Yakuza sub-stories also have a ton of callbacks to past Yakuza games, which I love. But the studio really seems to be fond of Yakuza 0, so if you're jumping from Yakuza 0 to this, you should be right at home with these sub-stories and some of these cameos. Yakuza Like a Dragon has some minor hiccups with how long it takes to set up its story and characters, but it has a lot of setting up to since it's a soft reboot of the franchise, but the story being told here is fantastically handled and all the scenes have a payout towards the end. Yakuza Like a Dragon took bold steps into changing the fundamental aspects of Yakuza games, like the main protagonist, the city, and even the combat that's uniquely its own, at the same time feels right at home for older fans. It's a tight line to follow, but the team did everything with flying colors. Yes, the game has some grinding and parts where I wish they would put more thought into the level design instead of just asking users to grind a certain amount of money to move on forward or level capping bosses. Even with all these minor issues, Yakuza Like a Dragon has engaging characters, high budget cutscenes, an incredible dub, and even better, a great story to tie it all up. I found the combat to be great. I think the job system is brilliant, and I'm excited to see where the future of the Yakuza franchise goes from here. The team has done nothing but knock it out of the park when it comes to how the games end. That's why I'll be giving Yakuza Like a Dragon an A. Yakuza Like a Dragon is a fantastic game and one of the best JRPGs I played this year. That's saying a lot considering Persona 5 Royale came out this year as well. If you're a fan of JRPGs, playing Yakuza Like a Dragon is a no-brainer. Thanks for watching the SEGAbits review of Yakuza Like a Dragon. If you guys like these videos, we have other videos on the side here. And I also have a personal channel right here where I'm unboxing and reviewing the Sega Astro Arcade Mini. So check that out. Thanks for the support. Merry Christmas. I love you guys. Happy holidays. Bye.